Learning a foreign language as an adult can be difficult, but it doesn't have to be. And in this video, we'll discuss 5 essential tips that every adult language learner should know before diving deep into this journey. Trust me, keeping these in mind will help you to set the right expectations, avoid burnout, and make real progress. Now let's face it, as adults, we're all pressed for time. Whether it's juggling work, family, and/or other commitments, it's very difficult to fit language learning into an already busy schedule. So that's why making the process as efficient as possible is extremely important. Now let's break down exactly how to do that by discussing the first thing every adult language learner should know before embarking on this journey. Before anything else, you need to ask yourself one fundamental question. Why do you want to learn this language? Your why is going to be your North Star throughout the language learning process. Are you learning the language because you want to connect to your heritage or your roots? Are you learning the language because you want to travel? Or are you learning the language for work? Why you're learning the language will determine how far you need to go with the language learning process. For example, if you're learning the language for work, then you're going to want to reach a more advanced, proficient level. However, if you're only learning for holiday, then intermediate is perfectly fine. Remember, why you want to learn the language will determine how far you need to go with the language learning process. So it's best to determine this stuff before you start to learn. Now, the clearer you are about your reasons, the more focused your language learning path will be. Plus, when the inevitable happens, i.e. when your motivation is super low, your why will reignite that drive. Moving on to the second thing you ought to know when learning a language as an adult. You really need to understand how you learn. This is crucial because everybody processes information differently. Trust me when I say understanding how you learn best will save you a lot of time, pain, and headache. Are you a visual learner that needs to see text, diagrams, and/or images to be able to retain information? Are you an auditory learner who needs to listen to information to be able to retain it? Or, like myself, do you need a mixture of it all? If you don't know how you learn, then try experimenting with different methods. You can even take one of those tests online that tells you how you learn best. I'll link one in the description below. In essence, understanding how you learn best will inform which resources you should be using. You want to maximize time and effort. What you don't want to do is invest time and resources that aren't helping you. I remember once I attended a group class when learning Spanish, and actually it done more harm than good. I genuinely felt my level in Spanish decline after having attended the class for a week. I wouldn't suggest you do the same. So understand how you learn best and stick to resources that fit that. And honestly, this way, you're not just putting in the hours, you're making sure they count. Now, before moving on to the third thing on this list, if you're enjoying this video, please give it the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks. Now, the third thing on this list is to fit language learning into your schedule consistently. Remember, it's better to do 15 to 30 minutes every day instead of 2-hour blocks every 2 to 3 days. At the beginning, consistency is key. So you need to be honest and ask yourself, how can I fit language learning into my day? Is it in the morning? Is it during lunch break? Is it in the evening? You need to find the slot and remain consistent. Now, thankfully, there's lots of language learning apps that are flexible, like Italki and Pimsleur. With Italki, you can find a tutor and book them for a time that suits you. And also with Pimsleur, you can use it absolutely anywhere. You can use it in the shower, in the toilet, whilst in the gym, as I did in this video that I'm linking up here. Depending on how you like to learn the language, there's a number of apps that cater to different learning styles. My advice would be to choose a time and create a routine that's easy to commit to, even if it means breaking your studying into smaller chunks. Now, this tactic of keeping language learning in your schedule consistently acknowledges the fact that as adults, our time is limited. But it also requires that you really try to find a routine that fits your lifestyle. Now, moving on to the fourth thing you should do when learning a language as an adult. This one's a big one, and it's to speak to natives as early in the language learning process as possible. Let's be honest, you're learning a language to speak to people, so the sooner you can speak to natives, the better. Natives will help you to iron out the kinks early on, and also allow you to focus on vocabulary that's relevant to natives who speak the language, not what a textbook or a language learning app tells you should be learning. Also, it provides the opportunity to focus your learning. Let's assume you're learning Spanish, but you want to learn Spanish to speak to Puerto Ricans. Well, learning Spanish from Spain would be useless in that instance. So speaking to natives early on will help you identify A, what type of Spanish you should be learning, and B, how to do it. Thankfully, speaking to natives has never been easier. Using the example of Puerto Rico, if I wanted to learn Puerto Rican Spanish, I could find a tutor on Italki, book a class, and begin to speak within days. This also acknowledges the fact that as adults, sometimes we can't travel, but we can still learn from a native context in our own homes. Now, the fifth and final thing I'd like to discuss is that you really need to be realistic about how long it's going to take you to learn a language. If you set your expectations too high and you don't meet them, this could demotivate you. Instead, you need to be realistic about the time it's going to take to learn a language. Be honest about how much time you have at your disposal, how much time you can actually invest in studying, and then make a plan to reach a certain goal accordingly. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. R.I.P. Nipsey. If you're starting out in a language, you can set yourself a goal of becoming intermediate within 3 months and advanced within 9, or something of the sort. But just make sure the goal that you have in mind aligns with the amount of time you have at your disposal to learn the language. But also understanding how you learn the language will inform the time it takes you to learn a language. And there you have it, 5 things every adult language learner should know. If you enjoyed this video, then go check out my other language learning videos up here. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.